This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to World Pro Racing after a bit of a lengthy weekend following on from the ACC World Pro Racing Sprint Series that took place this past Friday. Warm welcome to you all. Alex Goldschmidt and Nicholas Hilbrand back once again. Nicholas, I hope you had a good weekend. Looking forward to something rather different this evening. GT4 casual night race at Kyalami, where we go to the more production-based variety of sports car racing here.
Thanks as always for the great introduction, Alex. Yeah, GT4, this should definitely be interesting. Of course, one of the big traditional circuits as well. Part of it still from the 70s layout, and honestly, mid-speed cornering and long straights. It's going to be a lot of very interesting dynamics between these very different GT4 cars around here.
Very much the case. A big thank you, first of all, to you watching over in Malta on TM Esports TV, as well as motorsport.tv, and those watching on the official World Pro Racing Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube streams. We can't do this without the help of our welcome sponsors and partners. This stream is powered in association with Melita. We'd also like to thank visitmalta.com, Gaming Malta, HyperX, AMD, and Thrustmaster. The Kyalami circuit opened back in November of 1961 and hosted the South African Grand Prix between 1967 and 1985 before returning for 2 years between 1992 and 1993 before the sort of the emergence of a young talent by the name of Michael Schumacher over in Germany. But of course, this 2.814 mile, 4.529 kilometer circuit based in the Gauteng province of South Africa. Nicholas, you mentioned about mid-speed cornering, but there's also a lot of tight and twisty 90-degree corners, like, say, going through barbecue after the Jux K sweep, Clubhouse. You've then got Loikop, which is literally a hairpin that goes back onto itself. So there's a lot of challenges for the drivers here this evening.
Yeah, most definitely. Of course, it's also a lot of elevation change. It's built right on the side of a hill, of course.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, with all this dynamic, on and off camber change as well, it's quite difficult to place the car right all the time. So sometimes drivers, especially in GT4s, where it's either high power and high weight or low power and low weight, people will have to make do with what they can get and with what they get along with the best. So they just have to adjust perfectly to their own driving style there.
So on a Tuesday night, it's the same format as always. 15 minutes free practice, 15 minutes qualifying, and then a half-hour sprint. But this one is a little bit different. Apart from going to GT4 machinery, we're going to start at dusk, and we're going to end under the nightfall sky. And Nicholas, that is a true test, because we're about to go to the circuit itself to see how things transpire. We've got nearly around about 30 entries here. And they're going to get an idea of it. It's 5:28 on the circuit. But obviously, in South Africa, the temperatures will normally be higher on a lot of circuits. 21 degrees there, 25 degrees track temperatures. There's Nathaniel Thomas from the PC Boys Esports crew in the number 70 Janetta. That's going to make for some interesting racing, because the first thing, even in real life or sim racing, when you have to do the graveyard shift heading into the night, it's never easy, and especially when it's on a production-based road-going vehicle.
The thing is that the light. You know, when the sun is setting, it's just getting so difficult to just constantly judge your braking and everything, right? Of course, it's also quite blinding when the sun is setting so low. And I think that is going to be the main challenge. Of course, as soon as it gets dark, the main thing keeping the circuit warm besides the cars is also the sun. So the temperature could also drop off quite considerably, depending on, you know, how much or how early into the race the sun drops below the horizon. But either way, I think we're looking at a very interesting race. A lot of Ginettas actually here, so a lot of people actually going for the low power and low weight approach.
Yeah, so you can see that it is a quartet of Ginettas at the top of the timesheets, with Nathaniel Thomas, Lucas Romanek, Luke Whitehead, who's been a winner both in casual racing, but also through GT3, but also the 90 minutes of Hungaroring. Then we've also got Roberto Finazzi that has also decided to go with it. And then we've got TPC Sim Racing's Simon Speth, the number 34 Aston Martin. He's currently running P5 at the moment, 0.639 seconds off of Thomas. And then there are only at the moment, got down to 14th position, which is the number 89 Aston Martin. As I say that, there are a couple of more drivers that are starting to put in the lap times. We also have a car that is not really that well known within GT4 circles, unless you follow the International GT Open Series. The Chevrolet Camaro GT4 that was actually engineered by Reiter Engineering also had a hand in the KTM Crossbow GT4, which was used in the Reiter Young Stars. And one of the drivers I actually know personally who ended up running in W Series, Caitlin Wood, was one of the drivers in W Series that had raced in that, as well as I think there was definitely one of the other drivers. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but if I do, it will come back to me in later terms. But there is the number 11 Chevrolet Camaro of Gergely Kunsabo, another regular here as well. He's currently running P6 at the moment. So we have got a lot of the usual suspects here this evening, Nicholas.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, developed by Reiter, and quite honestly, when you look at the two, the Camaro, an absolutely humongous car, as aerodynamic as a brick, but it does haul down the straights like no other. And then you have the KTM, the complete opposite. It's just really interesting, you know, how this philosophy is actually just going through and how a Reiter can just get the development done so well. I think they also developed the old GT3 Camaro as well, alongside the Lamborghini Gallardo, of course.
Yeah, the other driver that I was thinking of was Naomi Schiff, that also raced in the Reiter Young Stars program, and Caitlin actually won the opportunity to run in the Blancpain GT Sprint Series at Brands Hatch, and I remember meeting her that weekend. Courtesy of Reiter Engineering. I have to give a shout out to Seb Scott, who gave me the opportunity to come down, meet Caitlin, and unfortunately their race had gotten to a very, very short end that particular weekend because her teammate unfortunately had a bit of a moment through the kitty litter, as we would say here in the United Kingdom, and the Lamborghini Gallardo unfortunately was not fit to drive after one of the initial practice sessions on the Friday. Patrizio Gemello in the Nord-Est racing team, number 74 Mercedes, currently rounding out the top 9. There is one car on this DLC pack which I think a lot of people have not gone for one particular reason, and I think you're going to agree with me on this one, Nicholas. It's the Maserati, because that is the only car out of the DLC for GT4 and Assetto Corsa Competizione that has no ABS and no traction control, and it can be a bit of a handful.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the oldest car in this entire pack, and of course it was still entered, but also to quite limited success in the last season of the European GT4 Championship. But either way, of course, it is a car that is among the hardcore drivers, you know, those who are looking for an extra bit of challenge. It's still very nicely seen, and a lot of people like it a lot, especially because it has a very nice sound as well. But of course, for a more consistent race, for, you know, less effort to put in just to be within the same pace possible, yeah, I think it's a lot easier to just go for the more usual cars, you know, for a Ginetta, an Alpine, a Porsche, or an Aston Martin.
Yes, very true. There is also the venerable machine from Ingolstadt, the R8 LMS GT4, which has got the likes of Mats Walden, and I think there was also Bergstrom in the number 13 that are running towards the bottom part of the order. However, there is David Corsa from Red Face Racing, the 71 Aston Martin, currently running P26. And looks like Michael Martin, also from TPC Sim Racing. We've seen him in the in a few cars amongst others, but he's the only one out of the 29 strong that has gone for the venerable Alpine A110 GT4. So Michael proudly sporting the Welsh Dragon as his national flag, obviously, with regards to Wales. I do have family over there, so it's good to see another Welsh driver. Michael's been a regular on the GT3 casual races that we hold here on World Pro Racing. If you do want to get involved, we cater for amateurs and professionals on a variety of different platforms here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, R-Factor 2, Gran Turismo Sport, amongst others. There is a lot coming up this week. We've got a packed rest of the week here on World Pro Racing tomorrow. There is still spots available for the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup at the Korea International Circuit, taking place at 8:30 p.m. Central European time tomorrow night. And then we have the Toyota Yaris Tsukuba Circuit Team Challenge taking place on Thursday at the same time. Then we have the penultimate round of the World Pro Racing ACC Sprint Series being held at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, just off the North Sea coast, taking place this coming Friday, where there is a €500 prize pool that will be decided on the 11th of December, and that will be at the famed Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. There's Itamar Yativ in the number 15 car, also another Ginetta, top 5. Oh, the venerable G55 GT4 rounding out the top 5 here. And it seems to cater for the car's sort of like agility, as that was a bit sideways from someone a little bit further back, and that was going through the through Clubhouse Bend, I believe, before heading down towards the S's. So the Ginetta G55 GT4, I have to give a shout out to another W Series driver who actually secured a Brit Car Championship a couple of years ago in this very same vehicle, Sarah Moore. So she knows about this car very, very well indeed. It seems like, Nicholas, that the Ginetta has been the car of choice. But that could be a very different story if the temperatures start to drop.
Yeah, definitely. Funnily enough, you mentioned Sarah Moore. She was actually taking part in an initiative for female sim racers not too long ago over at the Sim Grid. More female racers, where I think she even actually drove the Ginetta. So quite nice coincidence there, but as you say, the Ginetta at the moment seems to be the weapon of choice. Britain overall very, very strong right now with the top 8. Top 5, of course, Ginetta, and then 6th to 8th place by the Aston Martins. And I think this will be a battle of who is the strongest where, and how the Aston Martins can actually place themselves on the straights they have here, because in the corners they're definitely not at the advantage.
Simon Speth channeling his inner Michael Knight there, going through. That was the Crocodiles, or was that Cheetah? 2 wheels up in the air for the right-hand side of the Aston Martin, as he's currently running P6 at the minute, ahead of Mihail Sutianu in the 22. And then we've got Victor Taras from Walk Racing, and the number 31 Aston Martin, Gergely Kunsabo, and then we've got Tom Revox from Red Face Racing, rounding out the top 10, as then Sutiano in the 22 Aston goes P3. Absolutely blistering time from Sutiano. Also from Walk Racing, Simon Speth has a bit of work to do from 7th at the moment, as we are coming to the last 6 minutes and 15 seconds of the official pre-practice session. Patrizio Gemello in the 74 Mercedes, currently rounding out the top 16, as Gergely Kunsabo drops to 10th position. It looks like there has been another change. Revox has gone ahead of Speth and Tahas that particular occasion, as someone's gone very, very wide. That looks to be the car that was just ahead of Patrizio Gemello. That was an Aston Martin, and we only seem to have one McLaren 570S GT4 as Jamela gets a bit out of shape coming through the crocodiles and then through into Cheetah. But the Mercedes isn't going to have a great run here, I think, because, okay, it's got the grunt. We know it has, Nicholas, but it's just being outnumbered by so many different manufacturers here.
Yeah, I think overall a few of the cars have to look out at the moment. They're being picked far less, of course, than the Ginetta, the Aston Martin, and even the Chevrolet, to my surprise, to be honest, right now. I think that's a lot due to driver preference, but I think also because, of course, the Mercedes AMG, I think it has the same power plant with this version as the Aston Martin, but it's still built quite a bit differently. You mentioned the Audis earlier. That is actually one of the things that shocked Audi a little bit at the start of their GT4 program, because they brought out the Audi R8s. Okay, yeah, sure, we can just bring a street car basically into racing like this, and we'll be fine like this. And then along came Aston Martin, brought out a fully race-spec'd GT4 car, and Audi was just nowhere. And just at the beginning of last year, or at the beginning of this year, if I remember correctly, Audi brought out the R8 GT4 Evo kit, which actually gave the car proper ABS, because so far it had been running on street ABS. So much to the dismay of a lot of drivers of that car, they didn't really have the ability, or they really couldn't, because the car just restricted them with street ABS, to put down the maximum amount of brake force that they could put in normally. So just a car massively at a disadvantage compared to other more spec'd out cars, and now finally fixed. But this still is the non-Evo car, so that would maybe also explain a bit why the Audi is a bit weak showing here right now. And the Mercedes AMG, while, you know, on paper being a similar car to the Aston Martin, of course it has a lot different balance. It has a lot different just ECU and weight balance and all that. And yeah, I'm not surprised that overall the AMG is a bit regarded more understeery. That it's not going so well right now, because this is a track where, especially for all of the mid-speed stuff, you really can't use any understeer whatsoever.
Well, just a quick reminder, a bit of housekeeping for you ladies and gents watching wherever you are in the world. Welcome to World Pro Racing. Don't forget, if you're watching on our respective Facebook, YouTube and Twitch streams, why not give this video a like? If you're watching on YouTube, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell? And also, why not follow us on Twitch? So the more the merrier. Why not come and join us and get your skills up to the levels of other people that have plied their trade within the sim racing world here on Assetto, of course, on World Pro Racing, on these respective platforms with Dan Hackett, that Ginetta, definitely very second hand. That was a bit of a nasty bump into the wall, and luckily enough, that is actually coming through. That's through the Jux case sweep and up through to barbecue. So that's not a place you want to go off there, Nicholas.
Yeah, definitely not. You're still in a little bit of a section where your weight is shifting around a little bit, and on the right-hand side, the curb, it's really quite vicious. I think that's what he hit. Or maybe on the left-hand side as well, because either of those are just an absolute death sentence for your car. And the Ginetta, of course, you know, being very agile, and as we saw earlier, with a lot of power slides, maybe a little bit too agile for Dan Hackett's taste in that situation.
Yeah, and if he's taking a wallop of curb, then that's going to really sort of kick the rear end out, and it's going to break traction, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you've got a problem there. Sutianu and Sperth have now respectively gone up to 4th and 3rd in the final throws of this free practice session. So just under 90 seconds to go. Looks like we've got another Aston Martin there now on the side of the road, and that is coming through from barbecue up towards the right-hander at Sunset. There's Luke Whitehead. His form, his confidence continuing to flourish here on World Pro Racing. And it's between him and Nathaniel Thomas on who will have bragging rights at the top of the timesheets here at Kyalami. 2.814 miles, 4.529 kilometres. It also hosts the Kyalami 9 hours for the Intercontinental GT Challenge amongst other events, and it is well known within motorsport circles for providing a stern test for drivers. And as you can see, whilst we're following Luke Whitehead on the screen at the moment, just how definitive these elevation changes that Nicholas was talking about earlier on, coming down from Loikop down into the mine shaft through in towards the right-hander at the Crocodiles, and then again you further plunge down through into the right-hand kink at Cheetah before the left at Ingwe, which takes you onto the main start-finish straight. And Luke Whitehead really has been the one that has really put the cat amongst the pigeons. He's nearly 4 tenths quicker than Nathaniel Thomas. Simon Speth, Mihail Sutianu, they're covered by just under 8 tenths of a second. Checkered flag out for free practice session here on World Pro Racing for the GT4 casual night race on Assetto Corsa Competizione. And Nicholas, no surprise there that Luke Whitehead again using that motivation and confidence from the couple of victories that he's had over the last few weeks. Obviously, we had Imola GT3 casual race last Tuesday. He finished on the podium, but now he's got an opportunity to strike back, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Overall, his confidence has been astonishing. It's been building up more and more and more since Suzuka. And it's really nice to see, how he's handling with it, how he's just constantly putting it out. And his confidence, I think it really affects his performance as well. It's, of course, always quite threatening when you're just starting out. You're just trying to find your footing in a field of very mixed talents, of course. And you don't know where you want to finish. But as soon as you start getting good results, or even your first win, he uses that momentum perfectly to just keep on going and going and going. And that is quite an admirable feat.
Very much the case. I completely agree with everything you've just stated there, Nicholas. So thank you for your insight. We will be getting underway with time qualifying, 15-minute session around the 2.814 mile circuit. Don't forget, if you do want to follow myself or Nicholas on Twitter, you can actually see our Twitter handles on the screen at the moment. So please feel free to give us a follow. Feel free to get interactive with us as well. But yeah, I think, having nearly 30 GT4 cars on the grid for our first GT4 casual race here on World Pro Racing, Nicholas, that just shows the strength of how this platform really, really does give that proper immersion to every single user, despite it being amateur or professional. You've got the likes of Dave Perel, who is bridging that divide between real-life GT racing, being a competitive racing driver himself, and then also having Coach Dave Academy providing tuition for people. And we're seeing their drivers before across platforms like SimGrid and other ACC-based competitions to really provide a great sort of stepping stone for these sim races that we have for this at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of drivers have been quite positive with feedback about ACC. Another person of that, actually, Jensen Button, one of your countrymen.
Yes.
He has been driving ACC as well quite a bit with, quite a few events going on, like the SRO Esports series, which was quite fantastic overall. It's been received very well, and the last round actually on this circuit as well. So yeah, it's just overall been very, very well received. Overall, a lot of the car dynamics come over very nicely. And especially in these GT4 cars, you just really notice the different strengths and weaknesses of these cars. You just really notice the difference in handling.
Yeah, so as you can see, we are now underway with timed qualifying here at Kyalami, circuit based in Midrand in the Gauteng province of South Africa. Track temperature has dropped a little bit since free practice. By match, air temperature still 21 degrees Celsius, but we've dropped a degree on the track temperature. Track is currently stated as optimum with sunshine and cloud cover for around the next 30 minutes. Obviously for the next 12 and a half minutes, so these conditions will stay as they are, as Simon Speth again going through the crocodiles. I think he needs to go matte black and have the scanner on the front of it like Kit from Knight Rider. Then he can do ski mode to his heart's content. I digress there, but now this is where things are really, really going to start going up in terms of the antes. They're going to now go through into the right-hander at the kink, and then go into the tight left-hander at Crowthorne, the Jux K sweep, and then up to barbecue. If we stay with Simon Speth up the inside, and that's a lunge and a half even through qualifying, but you can just see now they're going to have to adapt very, very quickly as we've got a sunset well and truly in progress. So they've gone through the Jux K sweep, now up into the 90 left at Barbecue before the run down to the sweeping right-hander at Sunset. So we'll keep with Simon Speth at the moment to just give you an indication of how taxing this circuit can be. We'll go on board with the Aston Martin down to 4th gear, and now up into 5th. It will be then back onto the brakes, down from 5th to 3rd into the left at Clubhouse before a little bit of a run down towards the S's. You can just see he's using as much slipstream as he can. He's now going through the S's, which then brings them up the hill towards the top part of the circuit, and he's using as much curb as he can, staying within track limits. Then it's a little bit of a dip down to Loikop, and this is where it comes down onto itself, and he's all the way down to 2nd gear, up to 3rd. The back end trying to step out as he corrects it there through mineshaft, up to 5th gear, 200 kilometers an hour through this part of the circuit. He's building, and he's going to hit about 210, braking for the Crocodiles, the right-hander. Double waved yellows then, just indicated on the left-hand side of the dash display. Up to 4th on the run through Cheetah, not really lifting, and again, that lap definitely compromised. He's just going, I think, a bit too hot going into Cheetah, as one of the Porsches just ahead goes a little bit wide, and he's got a Ginetta on his tail. So Simon Speth crosses the line, and he's flashing at the Porsche in front saying, "Oi, get out of my way." 152.149 for Simon Speth from TPC Sim Racing. Luke Whitehead, a 1:50 in that Ginetta, with Victor Taras and Michal Sotianu rounding out the top 3. And Niklas, we have a top 7 British lockout in terms of 2 respective manufacturers, Ginetta and Aston Martin, with just under 10 minutes to go in quali.
Yeah, I think we're going to see even more of them at the front, actually. Speth, I think he had an invalid lap there, as he shifted into turbo boost to keep up the Knight Rider references with that corner. But yeah, I think he's going to need to use that differently, instead of jumping over that sausage clip on the inside at Cheetah. But yeah, we know that Speth can go quite quickly, but he just has to get that lap together, which is the big challenge here. And especially just throughout these technical corners here, it just gets really, really tight at the apex, and you just get one perfect line. You have to get that line absolutely perfectly right, unless you want to lose some time by getting onto the gravel, getting onto dirt, or getting your lap invalidated, and that is the big difficulty here right now.
Yeah, looks like a good run from the 391 Ginetta Roberto Finazzi, currently in P7 ahead of Adam Plivac. There's Lucas Romanek in the PC Boys Esports. Oh, he goes sideways coming out through Cheetah and gives the Audi in front a bit of a bump from behind. Whoops. You can see he was pushing like crazy. I'm not too sure if that might have been Mats Valden or probably Bergström that were the one in front. But that Audi definitely got the rear end rearranged, and I think that was Mats Valden, the number 12 Audi. There is Adam Plivac in the 420. Ginetta running out the top 10. So at the moment it is Ginetta leading from Aston Martin. Romanek and Yativ, both in Ginettas, running out the top 5 ahead of Simon Speth, Mr. Knight Rider, which we're going to nickname him this evening. Nathaniel Thomas in a Ginetta. Finazzi, Norton in the Chevrolet, rounding out the top 10. Well, briefly did before Adam Plivac brought another Ginetta, and that is 5. No, hang on. That's 6 out of the top 10. And if Piardi gets his way, Marco Piardi in the Nord-Est Racing team, he could also feature in the top 10. So, and there's 2 Chevys in the top 12. Oscar Saristo and Ben Norton. They're both in there. Gurgly Consabo needs to find a bit more pace, but Luke Whitehead there, 1:50.127, nearly 4 tenths quicker than Victor Taras in the Walk Racing Aston Martin, and it's Michal Sotianu in the 22, rounding out the top 3. As you can see that the light is quickly fading, and Nicholas, more importantly, track temperature drops another degree to 23 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I think this will come to the aid of the Chevrolet drivers here, because the Camaro is one of these cars. It can be very, very quick on these circuits here, as unlikely as it seems. but the big issue it has is tire heat. And of course, when the track is cooler, that heat is going to build up just a little bit less, as Gergely Kunsabo now puts it into 11th place. So we have 2 Chevrolets knocking on the top 10 and 1 already in the top 10. So very, very interesting to see, as a lot of people lovingly call it, the V8 brick, just being there at a circuit where it's really, of course it has long straights, but it's more about the mobility, the agility in these corners here. And I think that's also why Mr. Palin here in the McLaren 570S that we see just in front of Nathaniel Thomas, he's not having a great time, because that McLaren 570S weighs 1.6 tons, if I remember correctly, but has over 500 horsepower.
Yeah, the power to rate ratio there for the McLaren definitely isn't comparable to the Ginettas, as we see Nathaniel Thomas get past Parma as Saristo and Kunsaba running at the top 12 in the minute, followed by Plivac and then Mikel Pari from Team Cruising Missiles. Gemello running at the top 15 in the sole Mercedes in this field as Nathaniel Thomas jumps up from 10th to 2nd position, and he's within a 10th and a half of Luke Whitehead. That was a 1 minute 50.274 from the number 70 Ginetta. Victor Taras has been dropped to 4th place as Sutiano, his teammate at Walk Racing, has got a little bit further ahead. There was a car that was just a bit of a turnaround there.
Well, Nathaniel Thomas definitely breathing down the neck of Luke Whitehead there. And what can I say except a welcome challenge for a strong driver. And quite honestly, I think that's going to be quite an interesting challenge to see indeed. But I also have to say, for the start, we have a quite long straight from the start-finish line to Crowthorne. Maybe these Aston Martins in row 2 will be able to do something.
Yeah, it's all about getting the perfect start, anticipating the lights going green, and then just putting the pedal to the metal and just hoping that it all sort of works out. But then we've got the very, very real prospect. You said about the Aston Martins there. The Ginettas could make it possibly a very, very difficult task, as Victor Taras from Walk Racing goes 2nd with a 1 minute 50.250. So it looks like it's going to be just under 2 tenths covering the top 3 as we head into the last 4.5 minutes of qualifying. So yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that those two, if it's a Ginetta front row lockout, there is a possibility that they can make those GT4s as wide as humanly possible. And that could force possibly Taras and Sutiano, if they qualify on row 2, irrespective of which position they're in, that could make it full wide into the King Can Crowthorne for the first time. That would be ridiculous.
Well, the track is wide enough for it, and quite honestly, with my racing experience on the circuit from a couple different series, couple different events, I wouldn't be surprised, quite honestly. I've driven a mixed grid race here before as well, and with GT3s being around 9 to 10 seconds a lap quicker around this circuit in race trim and quali trim as well, it's actually quite frightening when you just... Of course, you want to catch the traffic on straight, because that is where you can just make the safest moves. But when you've just got a huge field of GT4s and they start going 4 wide, and suddenly this guy behind you in a GT3 car, while you're defending in a good position in GT3, you're also just trying to keep your position. The GT4s in front of you are 4 wide, and suddenly you have to go make it 5 wide into turn 1. It's all situations that can happen around this track, and this is why I absolutely adore this circuit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that would be with 2 wheels on the grass, bouncing it either up the inside or going around the outside. I mean, that would be a sight to behold. But we will find out in a short while who is going to take pole position for the GT4 casual night race here on World Pro Racing Live and uninterrupted on TVM Sports in Malta, Esports TV, Motorsport.tv, and also all the relevant World Pro Racing streaming platforms, Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. If you want to be a part of the community here, World Pro Racing, head to worldproracing.com. Cater for amateurs and professionals. Don't forget, if you are watching us on one of the respective streams, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, why not, if it's Twitch or YouTube, why not hit the subscribe button or follow button, give this video a like, and if there's a notification bell, make sure you press it, because it will give you all the relevant details and let you know when we are live for flat out, full throttle racing every single evening this week, right up until Friday before December. Simon Speth goes across the line and he goes P5 as that's the McLaren going sideways on the straight, and Lucas Romanek, had to get past, and he goes P1, 1:49.827, the first driver to go sub 1 minute 50 in this qualifying session. And what he's done there, that's really put the cat amongst the pigeons, is now Luke Whitehead. He's exactly 0.3 slower. So Lucas Romanek doing a great job there, and that looks to be at the moment, with about 1.5 minutes left to go here, Nicholas, possibility that we could have a Ginetta front row lockout. But I've got a feeling that the Aston Martins will definitely feature in if Taras, Sutianu and Speth get their A game together in the last minute and so.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility there. I may be a little bit biased because I also have a bit of a history of Reiter, but I'd love to see the Chevrolets get a bit further up, especially because I know that they have just an enormous amount of power. Of course, they're also naturally aspirated big V8s, so just on the rolling start, they will have the absolute power advantage, and I just like to see them just mix it up a little bit more, make it a little bit more chaotic for everyone involved.
Right, so Luke Whitehead crosses the line with around 40 seconds to go. Nathaniel Thomas running at the top 4, and he's done a best effort of a 1 minute 50.259. Lucas Romanek has decided to put it into the pits and thinks he's done enough. Luke Whitehead has got an absolutely humongous amount of time to find as we fast approach the end of the session. 18 seconds on the clock. 2 yellow flags in brief succession within the last 5 seconds alone. There is Roberto Finazzi, number 391. He's coming through. He's gone through Cheetah for the final time now into Ingwe. Comes round the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Checkered flag is now out for the session. 0 on the timer. Across the line, Finazzi goes P6 on his final attempt. So Romanek is going to have to wait. Yativ in the number 15 Ginetta, also now coming through into Cheetah. Runs a little bit wide on the exit and then puts on the brakes nice and sharply through in towards Ingwe. And the number 15 Ginetta now powers its way out of the final turn across the line. Does Yativ improve? Goes P8. We're still waiting for some drivers to come through. There's Luke Whitehead, and he's on his way through into the Crocodiles. Just to be up to speed. His last lap was a 1 minute 50.526. Now he's come out of the Crocodiles into the right-hand kink at Cheetah for the final time. Oh, the left rear goes on the grass, going into the corner. He runs a little bit wide, going through, bails out of it. So that really has decided that for this race, Nicolas, we have a Ginetta G55 GT4 lockout here at Kyalami, and it seems like the British manufacturers have done themselves proud with Aston Martin also heavily featuring there.
Yeah, definitely quite nicely done by all of them. And I think the big advantage of the Ginetta here is it has quite short gearing. On tracks like Bathurst, it's a death sentence, or much like Monza as well, actually, because I think the Ginetta tops out at around 240 kilometers an hour, but you don't reach that speed here, so you just have all the advantages of acceleration in the Ginetta. You just have the lightweight, you have decent power, and of course, you have an agile car. And because they don't top out, they just can use everything to their advantage perfectly.
Yeah, like you say, with regards to short gearing, obviously the high revving engine in the front of that G55, but obviously, you know, we've seen that there is a very, very different characteristic with the full, you know, with the so right, I've just been informed that Luke Whitehead has actually been officially demoted to P3. So Nathaniel Thomas will join Lucas Romanek on the front row. So a last-minute development. Obviously, our race director and stewards also decided that at that point. So maybe that when Luke Whitehead did his fastest lap in qualifying, 1 minute 50.1, that was disallowed. I think probably due to excessive track limits, and we did see that quite a few times coming out of the Crocodiles, didn't we?
I think he went. Yeah, actually, he went faster right at the end. So Nathaniel Thomas actually. Yeah, between, how do you say it, door frame and door, zwischen Tür und Angel, basically, in German. just barely slipping through the last gap, last couple seconds on the timer, and just managed to make it work. So big congrats to Nathaniel Thomas, and let's see how he can translate this into the race start.
Right at the death, as we'd say here in the United Kingdom. Literally pipped him to the post in the dying throes of qualifying. But we have a half-hour race here on World Pro Racing. So the main thing is that we are set, ready, and willing and able to go racing here at World Pro Racing, because there is a lot of action all the way through this week, as I explained a bit earlier. You can head to worldracing.com for all the information. There are still spots available for the Porsche GT3 Cup race at the Korea International Circuit tomorrow night. There's around 13, 14 spaces. It's on the R Factor 2 platform. The Tsukuba team challenge with the new Toyota Yaris GR, which everyone has absolutely been fawning over in the automotive world this past couple of weeks. We're going to have that on the Gran Turismo Sport platform. But it looks like, it's definitely dusk here at Kyalami. So it is Romanik and Thomas on the front row. Whitehead and Taras, Speth and Sutianu, Finazzi and Yativ, Revox and Saristo. So a Chevrolet, which Nicholas has a certain penchant for, did get into the top 10, but not as high as we'd hoped. And the headlights are ablaze because we are about to go racing. They've come out of Ingwe. We wait for the red lights to go green. When we get the signal from race control, we will be lights out and off and going. Green, green, green we go. And it's the rundown to the kink for the first time. Looks like Romanik got a really good start in comparison with Nathaniel Thomas. As they now make their way through into Crowthorne for the first time. And it's nearly side by side for the lead going through into Crowthorne. One trying to go towards the outside. And that would have been possibly Romanik that is in the lead at the minute as we've had a turnaround. And that looks to be the 44 once again. Yeah, that's the 44 Ginetta. That's Dan Hackett. And he's all the way down into 27th position. Johnson's got a drive through. So that would have been for a full start or not conforming to the starting procedure. But Romanik and Thomas trying to break away, and Gergely Kunsabo in the pits. That's one of the Chevys, and he's dropping like a proverbial stone. I'm wondering if he had contact in that race in the first throws. And right, okay, so we're going to just go on to it now. And there is a bit of a moment there as Kunsabo had to take avoiding action. There's one of the Ginettas in the middle there, and it's that is like a major accident on the M25. And Gergely Kunsabo, that the front left absolutely speared into the barriers, and that was heading towards, I think, Sunset. So he had absolutely nowhere to go, and that was a real shame for Gergely Kunsabo because that car is damaged. I don't think he'll have enough of that. Could be so much damage on there that he will decide to call it a day, and that's his race over and done with there.
Yeah, Spa 1998 sort of start accident there, just between Jukes K-Sweep and Barbecue. So quite difficult, of course, to gauge that properly. Of course, a lot of people are trying to go for different gaps, and then, Kunsabo just got very unlucky there and got put in the wall. So quite unlucky for him, but a lot of people who actually made it through that. Now the field's completely shaken up. Pana has actually found quite a few spots with his McLaren. And the same goes for quite a few other guys. But we look at P17, Luke Whitehead down there. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think it was one good shove deserves another at the Jukes K-Sweep. You've got the likes of Matthias Albrecht. You've got Eric Giroux from Academy Motorsports. Up the inside goes Patrizio Gemello. Up the inside of the 61 Porsche through into Barbecue. Well, no, that was actually through into the Jukes K-Sweep. My apologies there. But you can just see, now for those wondering about how fast is the server actually being set to in terms of the time, it's actually 4 times speed. So we are going to see the clock, like literally within the first 3 minutes, we've actually added 20 server. So local server time, 7:22 p.m. Track temperature again has dropped more degrees. We're now down to under 20, down to 19, as Mihai Sutianu having a ding-dong battle there with Simon Speth, number 34. Now we've seen these two battle hard in GT3 casual race action here on World Pro Racing, but looks like Romanik is trying to pull a gap on Thomas. There is Sutianu, 22, with Yativ rounding out the top 5 ahead of Taras Plivac. Saristo, the Chevrolet now up into 8th position, as there is Mathieu Milo, Red Face Racing, 89 Aston Martin, fending off, and that is Marco Piardi. Michael Martin in the Alpine, he's absolutely another example of how a lightweight sports car, just like the Ginetta, can make up moves. And Michael Martin already, Nicholas, is up into P18 and he's chasing down. That is Riboldi. Oh, tank slapper! Oh, that was coming. He's done a Simon Speth, and everyone's trying to have to avoid it. And he gets clattered into. He tries to move the car. That probably could have been Corso or Pari in the 71 or 76 that turned Michael Martin around, and all that hard work. I mean, okay, he lost it on his own, but that was just heart-wrenching for Michael Martin. And now he's pulled into the bits. The back end of the Alpine has been absolutely speared and T-boned to Kingdom Come here at Kyalami.
Yeah, just very, very unlucky. The Alpine with mid-engine and a small engine as well. Actually, a little 4-cylinder turbocharged motor, and also, yeah, just one of these very lightweight cars. They take not so kindly to violent bumps like that inside sausage crab. So it just takes something like that, and then just a few millimeters of bad placement to end a very promising start of the race, as we saw.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when you look at it, the Ginetta has a 3.7 litre V6 for Duratec as its power plant, and then we look at the Alpine in comparison, and I'm actually looking this up on the fly whilst we're doing this, as Prit Parna in the number 8 McLaren up to 17th. It looks like he's battling away with that is Giroud Barry, I think that is 4th position, and the Alpine A110 has a 1.8 litre turbocharged engine cylinder in line 4. So here we are on board with Prit Parna in the 570S GT4 McLaren, and now is going through. That is going to be, I think, I'm just trying to catch my bearings here again. That is going to be through. That was through the Crocodiles, then through into Cheetah. Currently running in P18, having started right towards the back of the field. Looks like the Alpine of Michael Martin is still in the pits. Matthias Albrecht currently rounding out the top 16 positions, and Christopher Lagertson, who's normally, when we see him competing in GT3 casual races here, has really been one of the ones that have profited from it as well, as the number 17 Ginetta currently up into P15, as we have 23 minutes and 35 seconds of this race remaining. And you absolutely hit the nail on the head a bit earlier when we had that massive melee off of the Duke's K sweep, Nicholas, that it really has changed the dynamic of this race.
Yeah, and quite honestly, it's this just moment, you know, like this typical psychological effect of don't look at the tree, don't look at the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, and you're just going to drive right into it. It's even more accelerated with this night situation, because you see it very beautifully with these nice graphics in ACC. You have a little bit of reflection every single time with all the different, of course, as well, materials in the paint jobs of these cars. But it's just something, you focus your eyes on them just very subconsciously, and subconsciously you just steer to it a little bit.
Oh,
and
now that
was
was
just a little bit that you meet.
Yeah, that was a bit of a moment there for Daniel Thomas. Tiano went up the inside going through Crocodiles. Not too sure if there was a little bit of a touch between them. But that has meant that Thomas, I think, has dropped down a little bit further. Yatif battling away with Taras. And then has got, that's you've got the likes of Plivac there as well. Saristo was battling away with Plivac a little bit earlier on in the race. So this could be the battle between Thomas, Yativ and Taras, I believe. That's Plivac there. They're definitely not keeping their elbows in. That is Yativ actually that has lost out a couple of positions in the process. So Thomas back up into 4th place. That would be the likes of Taras, I think, has got ahead of Yativ, and that's for P5. Giroud still battling away, and there's Paolo Cisco, Lord S Racing Team, running in the Italian Tricolore Cars, and has got Ben Norton up the inside of him, and Norton goes up the inside through into Crowthorne in the into the V8 brick that is known as the Chevrolet Camaro GT. Paulo Cisco drops out of the top 20 into 22nd. Looks like Johnson is one of the drivers that has got, well, Johnson hasn't got past, but Giroud has. I think Johnson has got ahead. Yes, and Johnson's now rounding out the top 20 ahead of Giroud. Cisco runs wide. We go back to Plivac now. He's in 8th position. No, he's not. That looks to be 8th position because Saristo has made that number 9 Chevrolet Camaro work really, really well. You did say that you got a bit of a penchant for it, Nicholas. And in these colder conditions, I think your analogy earlier on about the fact that the colder conditions will help the Chevrolets as Plivac runs wide coming out of the dials, that Saristo is really putting the hammer down, and he's not giving quarter to anybody.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the strengths of the Chevrolet. When you put the hammer down, it really does go down hard. And I think right now in these temperatures, because, you know, the tire heat, it starts affecting the car more and more and more later, but that is maybe a bit too much hammer down. As they come from mineshaft there.
That was Paulo Cisco and Eric Giroud that came together. That's not going to be looked at. And I've just been informed penalties are coming. Sounds ominous there, guys. But yeah, it's really, really interesting how some of these cars are just absolutely flying, and Paulo Cisco not able to make the Chevrolet work. And Nathaniel Thomas has got his way past Victor Taras in the number 31. And so at the moment, the biggest news, though, ladies and gentlemen, is that Lucas Romanek has dropped from the lead of this race and he's 5th with Mihai Sutianu in 1st. Then we've got Simon Speth, Nathaniel Thomas, Victor Taras, Lucas Romanek, who we've got on our screens at the moment, being followed closely. The number 15 of Itamar Yativ, Saristo in the number 9 Chevrolet Camaro. Prit Parnat currently rounding out the top 18, as Gemello has had a 5-second time penalty. That might be for avoidable contact. And then we've got Ben Norton, who's trying to do his best. Looks like that is right. Okay, Gemello gets a 5-second penalty for the incident with Hackett on the very first lap. Taras is going to get a drive-through, turning around Luke Whitehead, and Tom Revox gets a drive-through for turning around Norton. So that's 3 major penalties being issued before the first half of this race, and so that means that Taras is now serving the drive-through. That is going to drop the Aston Martin out of the top 10 like a proverbial stone. Hazard lights on, 50 kilometers an hour through the pit lane, and now he exits out of it. Taras keep himself in P9 as there's a bit of a moment there for one of the Ginettas. That's Ligerit coming out of the Crockett, coming out of Cheetah. Wondering as he ended up in the pits. Yeah, he has ended up. Probably had no other alternative to go through into the pits, but whether Ligeritson has damage, that will put him outside of the top 20. 18 minutes to go. Still anyone's guess as to who is going to be leading. Victor Taras is being closed in on by Luke Whitehead. Oh dear. I was going to say hopefully lightning does not strike twice, but I know for a fact that Luke Whitehead will want to get past Taras as cleanly and as quickly as humanly possible, and he is closing.
Yeah, it's one of these moments, especially after a lap 1 collision. Whitehead lost a lot of time there, and now, well, would you look at that, buddy? We're here together again. How is this going to play out? So, yeah, I think that's something that we need to keep an eye on, for sure. But one thing that I've noticed, the Ginettas, as strong as they were in qualifying, all of them have struck bad luck, and now we have a 1-2 for Aston Martin.
Yeah, but then look at the rest of the top 5. We've got 3 Ginettas there, haven't we? So
and right behind that, the Chevrolet Camaro.
Yes. Anyone got the Jaws music on standby, just in case as Plivac goes a little wide? Coming through that corner, Simon Speth trying to close on Sutianu, and look at Nathaniel Thomas. He's really got some pace behind the wheel of that Ginetta. Track temperature has dropped again to 18 degrees Celsius, Local server time has eclipsed just over an hour since we started racing. That is Plivac trying to dive bomb up the inside of Saristo. He's going, oh no you don't, Sunshine. You're not going to do that through Crowthorns. No way. On a month of Sundays, you're going to be able to do that on me. But what that has allowed is that Finazzi in the 391 just behind is closing on the 420 of Adam Plivac with Oscar Saristo still doing a good job. Paulo Cisco in the 97 Camaro a bit further down. Must give a shout out to Ben Norton here. Cisco and Giroux has got right. Okay, I wonder what would happen. Cisco has been given a drive-through for the contact on Eric Giroux. The 61 is 23rd, so that will put Cisco possibly out of the top 25 as we fast approach half-time here at Kyalami. Saristo is closing, and he's past Plivac. Plivac sends it back up the inside through Loikop, and then Finazzi trying to get through, but that sheer grunt of that Chevrolet Camaro powers out of Loikop and into Mineshaft. It's definitely got the legs on the Ginettas, so that was a great defence from Oscar Saristo as he now goes in, but then up the inside again through the Crocodiles, tries to go Adam Plivac. Plivac still holding on to it. He's still got the bit between his teeth. Give him that. They go through Cheetah, and you can see just how planted that Chevrolet is, but Plivac looking to go up the inside of Ingwe. Goes up the inside. Will he run wide coming out of the corner? He does. Great tight line taken by Saristo, and back up into sixth position goes the Chevrolet. Brilliant exchange there. Brilliant exchange.
Oh, this is just too great to watch, honestly. If the entire time Plivac constantly has to attack. Meanwhile, suddenly Yasunatsi looking down his outside, he just sticks it down the inside of Saristo, and Saristo just goes, well, Sunshine, I'm just going to go the over and under. I have enough grunt for that.
It's sort of like, how about them apples? 14 and a half minutes still this race, being treated as an absolute cavalcade of battling here between Oscar Saristo, Adam Plivac, and Finazzi. Go back to Pritpana from Estonia, currently still rounding out the top 18 positions, and he has the Alpine, which is now back out on circuit. Michael Martin, the Welsh driver, currently rounding out the top 26, as Cisco has yet to serve his drive-through. According to the timing board, the timing tower, Jamalo has a 5-second penalty post-race for clashing with Hackett. Saristo, and was that a flash of lights from Adam Plivac? I mean, I know that it's dark and everything, but stop, just let us watch this titanic battle. And I can just see that Machimilo is not too far behind in the 89 Aston Martin. So, Plivac had got the switch back through Loikop as they come down towards Mineshaft, but that sheer grunt again of that Chevrolet allowing Saristo to have that little bit of... it's a bit like a magician with an extra trick up the sleeve. But they go through into the Crocodiles once again. Plivac up the inside. It looks like he's got the move done this time, as now Saristo goes defensive on Finazzi into Cheetah, and then into the right-hander once again at Ingwe, and Plivac takes a tighter line this time, but it's a tighter line even still from Saristo, who will get the drag coming down the main straightaway and then heading into the kink right-hander on the main start-finish straight, as they absolutely hurtle their way down to Crowthorne. Saristo going into Crowthorns. This is the battle now for 7th position. But Saristo keeps it planted and gets the apex for the Jukes K sweep. Nice and easily done there before the left at barbecue. I don't think this battle for 6th position, Nicholas, is quite over yet.
Yeah, I definitely don't think so either, especially when you're considering if they just stop fighting a little bit, then they could actually possibly catch up to the guys running in front, because if we're just looking here, Romanek with Yativ, those two are fighting, and then we have the top 3 just up ahead who are also fighting amongst themselves. So yeah, if they just, be a bit more cautious, a little bit less fighty, a little bit less argy-bargy, so to say.
Yativ up the inside like a... through Loikop on Romanek there for place as they go side by side. A little bit of a slight touch they're going through Mineshaft, but Yativ absolutely said that, but he's run a little bit wide. He catches it. it. That in my eyes was a bit of a racing incident because Romanek was trying to force the issue. Yativ is now flashing at Romanek saying, "Oi, give me that place back." If I'm honest with you, that manoeuvre from Romanek trying to get back up the inside, I mean, it was going to be one of one and 500 of the other, but that's a difficult one to call. I'm going to leave it to the stewards, but that was just literally, that was two drivers going absolutely hell for leather through mineshaft and into the crocodiles, and it was just the fact that Yativ ended up being the one on the receiving end.
Yeah, I think a little bit too much elbows out, but that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, they're just fighting up ahead, so if Plowage, Saristo and Finazzi just hold back a little bit, their fight for P6 could very well translate into a fight for P5, P4, and maybe even P3.
Whilst stewards are looking at that incident between Romanek and Yativ as we speak, I'm sure that we'll get a very, very quick decision. Sutianu is battling away with Simon Speth, and we've got just over 10.5 minutes to go. They've now just gone through Clubhouse. They're now going to go through into the S's, or blasting their way up the hill towards Loikop, and then coming down the hill from the top part of the circuit through Mineshaft. And we've seen Sutianu and we've seen Simon Speth both at the sharp end in GT3 and now in GT4. They're really, really showcasing how quick these Aston Martins are. We've still got Nathaniel Thomas in third place, but he's a bit too far adrift as we go into the third of the race. And I think your analysis, Nicholas, of talking about the Aston Martins was definitely one to really consider. And it looks like that Sutianu and Speth have just made hay whilst the sun has shined, or in our case, when the night has fallen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, honestly, with the situation as it is currently, Thomas is still definitely in an attack position, but at the same time, Speth and Sutianu, I think they're in very good position right now because they can give each other slipstream. They have the edge on the straights for sure, and as it stands right now, they're not attacking each other. I think Speth, if anything, he's going to leave it for the last couple laps to do any sort of attack, just so they don't lose time.
Well, Luke Whitehead, in the meantime, has been his mode running. He's moved to 10th position, but he's battling away with quite a few other drivers. One of Piardi, who's just behind him, and it's a colour back markers, one of which is there's a Ginetta there that's currently running in 20th position. So Piardi having a bit of a drama there, and that looks to be Victor Taras, who has now made the move past Piardi. So Taras will now be up into 11th position. So with 8 minutes and 35 seconds still to go, your top 15 is as follows. Sutianu leads Speth, Thomas, Romanek, Yativ, Plivac, Saristo, Finazzi, Milo, Whitehead, currently with at the moment. That is confirmed now that Victor Taras is up into 11th, ahead of Marco Piardi. Then it's Patrizio Gemello in 13th. Riboldi, and then we've got Pari rounding out the top 15, and the majority of the cars, I count 7 Ginettas out of the top 12, as Plivac now coming under fire once again from that bruising engine. Okay, so Romanek has been given a drive-through penalty on the move on Itamar Yativ, so we'll have to serve that penalty. So that's a real shame, Romanek, but of course the stewards do have to look into it as Plivac. Oh, this is getting really, really well and truly elbows out, as it is starting to do so at the front of the field. Sutianu defending now, going into England. Oh, whoa! I'm sorry, Simon Speth. That's around the outside of Crowthorne into the Jux K sweep. I think he went all 4 wheels off. He has to give the position back to Sutianu going into barbecue. But Simon Speth absolutely launched it around the outside. Mihai Sutianu going into Crowthorne with just under 7.5 minutes to go. Wow. Brave and then some.
Yeah, this is just one of these situations, you know. It's a hairpin, of course, but given how wide it is, he can just pull these moves off. Speth, I think, just stuck it back a little bit, as he said, you know, running off the track there and trying to keep the position and, well, keep the fight for the position fair. But if they're fighting too much now, you see one lingering right there. You see one just very patiently lying in wait for one of them to make a mistake. And that single one is Nathaniel Thomas in the Ginetta.
He's got the ringside seat and he's waiting to see what happens as Milo gets, I think that is Taras trying to close on Luke Whitehead. So this is really going to start the ante. I can feel the heat, let alone the heat that is dissipating. I can, it's getting a bit more hot under the collar, even though the track and air temperature now drops to 17 degrees Celsius, a 12-kilometre-an-hour wind. Just under 6 minutes remain, and we have been treated to some fantastic racing action here at the Kyalami circuit in South Africa, based in the Gauteng province, based at a place called Midrand. Now that was Luke Whitehead trying to retake 10th position from Taras. There looked to be a little bit of contact between the two, whether that is getting investigated, as Marco Piardi now closes on the 31 Aston Martin as they come through Ingwe. So whether that will be investigated, you get a notification if that is the case. Sutiano and Speth still absolutely flat out, but Nathaniel Thomas is closing, not by much, but I think here, Nicholas, by enough to keep himself in the hunt for what could be the inevitable race victory in just 5 minutes' time.
I think all of them will have to start playing a lot of strategies right now, just when and how they will make the move, and if an attack happens, how they will defend that. Romanek will have to deliver that penalty before race is over, because he will definitely get disqualified otherwise, because I think he will run out of laps to deliver that penalty for. So Yatif will go up to 4th. If those three are cabbling too much, that would mean that Yatif goes up and actually mixes in with that as well. And if any of them actually mess up, then Yatif could also get a freebie from that. So this is all something that they all have to consider here.
Yeah, very true. So we go into the last 4 minutes. 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the race. Simon Speth was closing. And Sutiano is again, Taras and Whitehead have got their elbows out, but Piardi just waiting in the wings. Let's see what happens as Taras runs a little bit wide coming out of, given the opportunity to Piardi to close up. So, and now, Taras getting really aggressive coming out as Romanek serves his penalty. As Taras definitely got the elbows out on Piardi when Piardi tried to shove it up the inside of the Aston Martin. And Taras was having absolutely none of it as they go through Cheetah. Now into the left-hander. Brings them onto the start-finish straight at Ingwe. So it is still very much all to play for. Whether the top three are going to start banging each other's doors down, and the one that looks to be the most closest to having that done to it is that of Simon Speth in the number 34, Mihai Sutianu from Racing, still leading the way as we go into the bottom of the ninth. If it was a baseball analogy that you wanted and someone was needing a home run, and that person right now that needs it is Mihai Sutianu. But Speth and Thomas definitely still in the hunt with 180 seconds to go. They go down into the S's, down the dip, up the short incline towards Loikop. And Sutianu has really made sure that he strikes first blood here in World Pro Racing when it comes to Assetto Corsa Competizione in the GT4 casual race side of things. As we go with Eric Chihu and Paulo Cisco, all these two. There was a lover's tiff earlier on, I think is the term I'm going to use there, as Parna tries to go up the inside through into Crow on Mateus Albrecht, and that is for 18th position. McLaren, despite Nicholas saying it weighs 1.6 tonnes, still got past, going into made the move stick by the Jux K sweep. It's Taras and Whitehead are like a couple of petulant children battling over the only surviving swing in the playground, aren't they, these two?
Well, definitely. I think the tensions between the two of them have been up since lap 1, obviously, with that collision which brought a drive-through penalty. But look at that now. That's Piardi just looking for the inside for the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin actually taking a little bit more runoff than is normally advisable. But I think we also have just 2 more laps, which is for these two more laps, and Sutiano the begun lap, and another lap after that, because that is just barely there. But look at this aggressive defense from Luke Whitehead now.
Taras trying to go, and he's slingshotting up the inside of Luke. Piardi looking to the outside, and that's through the kink. It was 3 abreast as they head into Crowthorns, and Whitehead looking to send it up the inside, not just off Piardi, but past Victor Taras through into Crowthorne. They now head into the right-hander at the Jukes K sweep. Taras is ahead in 10th position. Then it's Whitehead, Piardi. This battle not over and done with. We've got just over a minute left on the clock as these 3 make their way through Barbecue and not too far behind. I think I spotted possibly a lone Mercedes there as this trio. As Taras is now powered away. Susian, oh, that's Speth! Speth up the inside of... And that is for the lead. And that is through Loikop. They're going to come down the hill, down through Mineshaft with 46 seconds on the clock remaining. And I think after this we will go on to the final lap. So Simon Speth looking to strike whilst the iron was hot. And he waited, bided his time, as Nicholas Well and early truly put, that he was going to wait for his time and go for it. They're going to make it across the line with, I think, a couple of seconds to spare. And that will put us on to the final lap. But Lucas Romanek rejoins in 6th position as Adam Plivac is away into the darkness. But Romanek has to watch out for Saristo and Finazzi. So leader now on the official final lap of this race as Whitehead and Taras again at each other's doors, and Whitehead just had the absolute guts and gumption, the intestinal fortitude, if you will, to go up the inside through the crocodiles on Victor Taras to take back 10th position going on to the final lap as this duo come out of Ingwe for the penultimate time. Sutianu now feeling the heat, and it's not from Speth because Speth is now out in front. Nathaniel Thomas from in the number 70 Janetta could have an opportunity. They're now making their way through Sunset for the final time, up towards the left-hander at Clubhouse Bend for the S's. Simon Speth really made sure that he took his time. He waited, bided out his strategy as Elbrecht trying to go up the inside of David Corso. Red Face Racing, Aston Martin, that's for 19th position. And they're about to come through. So the timer has struck 0. Patricio Gemello nearly being rear-ended there by Janetta, but for the final time, down through Mineshaft we go. Simon Speth from TPC Sim Racing in the 34 Aston Martin got the jump on Mihai Sutianu from Racing with Nathaniel Thomas rounding out the top 3. Just a couple more corners to go. Out of the crocodiles for the final time. Into the right-hander at Cheetah. Sutianu sniffs a bit of TPC Sim Racing blood heading into Ingwe for the... in the water, so to speak. They come out of the final corner. It's going to be a... But Simon Speth powers out of the final corner, and he wins here at Kyalami by an absolute mere fraction. Mihai Sutianu takes second ahead of Nathaniel Thomas. Itamar Yativ and Lucas Romanek will round out the top 5 positions as Adam Plivac drops behind the 332. So the 420 takes 6. Oscar Saristo outside of the top 15 makes it 7th ahead of Finazzi. Milo Whitehead rounds out the top 10 after his tumultuous battle all race long with Victor Taras. Marco Piardi takes 12th. There's Diego Riboldi, who will actually inherit 13th place. And I think Gemello will be outside of the top 15. But Simon Speth, with 2 laps to go, stole the lead off of Mihai Sutianu, racing like candy from a baby. And he takes the victory here on the World Pro Racing GT4 Casual Night Race here at the Kyalami International Circuit. Nicholas, what a race. That was just absolutely mind-blowing. I think I've run out of superlative this evening, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that finish, it really was something else. I don't think we've seen something like that in one of the casual races so far, or just not quite as close. Because Sutianu, first looking to be able to get it alongside Speth, loses a little bit of traction, And suddenly, Nathaniel Thomas just comes along with the Ginetta, with the naturally aspiration engine, and just out of nowhere almost gets alongside as well. So I think that must be the closest top 3 finish that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, at least.
I think that's probably, since I joined World Pro Racing a few weeks ago, that is hand on heart, one of the best action-packed, dramatic finishes that we saw here on World Pro Racing. A big thank you to all our competitors, 29 of them that took part in tonight's festivities. I think I'm going to give the first interview to you, Nicholas, this time. We've got Mihai Sutianu, who finished as our this evening.
Mihai, good race from you. Were there any doubts of the outcome here? Of course, in qualifying, the Astons weren't looking so strong, but you pushed through and actually fought for the win until, as we just saw, the very last corner. How are you with this race today, mate?
It was a nice race. Aston Martin didn't disappoint me. Actually, is my first race with a GT4 car.
So once again, a very strong showing here. And overall, how would you say, like, what are the big differences here between a GT4 car and a GT3 car in ACC?
The power and that this car is more easy to drive.
Right, so a bit easier to drive, but still you managed to push through, and nevertheless, very, very hard competition until the last corner. Was there any pressure that Nathaniel would also come from behind in the last couple meters? Mihai? Was there any pressure if Nathaniel would come past you in the last couple meters, or were you sure, were you confident in the power of your Aston Martin?
I know that the Ginetta is a bit slower on the straights, but I defended and get P2.
Right. Thank you very much, Mihai. Thank you for the good showing today.
Okay, let's talk to our race winner here at the GT4 Casual Night Race at Kyalami. Congratulations, Simon Speth. Fantastic race with a couple of laps to go. You managed to get past Mihai, and the Aston Martin really came into its own. The Ginettas really struggled, especially with that the first lap incident through the Jux K sweep. It seemed like we had a multiple car road accident, let alone being on a racing circuit.
Yeah, like actually all the race I was quite lucky because I started a bit in the pack, and already in the first corner 2 cars spun, I guess, and I was very lucky going through that without being hit. So you actually gained all the places in the race from mistakes by others, so I'm quite happy.
And obviously the Aston Martin, as Mihai was just saying, that power delivery in comparison with the Ginetta just showed how capable that car is. And we know that the Ginetta can be quite an easy car to drive, but how was it with the Aston Martin?
Yeah, at first I was a bit worried because all of the good lap times from the Ginettas in the practice, but I was quite confident that maybe the Aston was also a bit easier to drive over the whole race distance with traction control and ABS. So yeah, maybe this made the difference in the end because I guess one Ginetta was spinning out of the final corner. So yeah.
Well, congratulations, Simon, on a well-earned race victory here.
Thank you.
Pro Racing, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, last but by no means least, our third place driver. Let's bring in Nathaniel Thomas. Nathaniel, you had the ringside seat for quite a few laps behind Mihai and Simon, but if you had another lap or two, I think you probably would have had a possibility to go for a late lunge, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I was definitely ringside for the whole event. Just tough that the Ginetta couldn't quite keep up. It was fast in quali and practice, but didn't quite have the race pace. If I had another lap or so, I probably would have been able to maybe give it a shot, but I think the Aston Martins were a bit too far ahead.
Obviously, one of the biggest things going from dusk to nightfall, the track temperature dropped by at least 3 to 4 degrees. How did that affect the handling of the Ginetta in terms of the tyres, the tyre model, and also the tyre degradation? over the course of the half-hour race.
It was a surprisingly notable change. So, big shout outs to Assetto Corsa for making an awesome sim. It made the car a bit more unpredictable to drive. You couldn't push it quite as hard in the braking zones as you could when the temperature was a bit higher. But nice little shout out to PC Boys for helping me with the setup. It was fortunately quite manageable, and I could continue my pace throughout it.
Yeah, also wanted to come on to one of your teammates, Lucas Romanek. He was battling hard with Yativ for quite a big part of the race, I think, in the latter half of it. We've seen Lucas at the front, the sharp end, and that could have been quite a good result for you guys, PC Boys, couldn't it?
Yeah, it would have been fantastic to have. We were aiming for a top 3, the 3 of us. Whitehead is kind of partially involved in the team, but I definitely get used to seeing, especially Romanek up there as well. He will definitely be back, and we're aiming for that 1, 2, 3. Hopefully, it'll be coming soon. Well,
fingers crossed. We'll see if that does pan out for you guys. But Nathaniel, Thomas, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
So, Nicholas, we've heard from the top 3. Really good insights from all 3 of them. But just hand on heart, bringing GT4 to World Pro Racing has just really brought the excitement levels to another fever pitch, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. The GT4s, of course, when you're comparing GT3 to GT4, ask drivers what they want to drive. Of course, they always want to drive the fastest cars. But overall, the reception of GT4 has been overwhelmingly positive just everywhere where I've seen them. And they make for fantastic racing, as we've just seen. So I definitely hope we can see a return for that with World Pro Racing, maybe even with multi-class.
Who knows, because I have been involved with SimSport Racing, who I'm commentating tomorrow night. We've got GT4s as well. I think GT4 accepted multi-class racing. It's definitely great on ACC. It's a proven technology. And obviously, Kuno Simulazioni, who are the people that run all that hard work, all the track mapping, the getting the cars as realistic as possible. It's really, really good to see how that's coming along. So, on behalf of myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Nick, I'd like to say a big thank you to you all watching on TVM Sport from Malta, Esports TV, Motorsport.tv, World Pro Racing, Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube streams. We'd also like to say that this stream has been powered by Melita. We'd like to thank them for their ongoing support, along with Thrustmaster, AMD, HyperX, visitmalta.com, and Gaming Malta. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, we will be going to the highlights very, very shortly, but just a quick bit of housekeeping to remind you of what is happening. Tomorrow night, we have the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup at the Korea International Circuit. There are still places available. Head to worldracing.com to sign up via the R Factor 2 platform. We've also then got Toyota Yaris Team Challenge at Tsukuba Circuit on Thursday night on the Gran Turismo Sport platform. That is completely sold out. And then we have the penultimate round of the inaugural World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series at Zandvoort on Friday night from 8:30 p.m. Central European Time. Above all, stay safe. Thank you for watching, and good night for now.
stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.